let's look at a few of the features in here that I think you're going to like. So first thing, this console area, it keeps a lot of the button clutter down and out of your way. Neat and tidy upper dash that doesn't really have any buttons on it. Contextual buttons here, and you can see the icons on these are backlit. You can see my control surface changes. There's the cruise control button there that lights up when we turn the cruise control on. Head-up display up here, 3 buttons down here. That's our parking system, and that's driver assistance, auto hold, and traction control in this case. And for this button, no surprise there. That's our parking camera system, park, reverse, neutral, drive. So Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring plug-in hybrid in this video. This is the second time that I've shown you a Lincoln Corsair in the past 2 years. By the time you're watching this, I will have done about 6,000 kilometers of cumulative testing between the two models. A 2020 model year unit, we'll put some footage up there to show you, and this 2022 Grand Touring plug-in hybrid. So as a plug-in hybrid, that means that we've got a fuel door here, and because we can plug this into recharge, there is also a recharging port there. So if you're curious about the charging, the hybrid tech, how this all works, we're gonna go over all of that in this video and plenty more. By the time you watch this video, I'll have driven over 6,000 cumulative kilometers of cross-province driving in 2 separate Lincoln Corsair variants over the past few years. This luxury SUV is one of a multitude of choices in a highly contested segment occupied by the likes of the Porsche Macan, Acura RDX, Genesis GV70, Audi Q5, and many, many more. The Lincoln Corsair is an approachable blend of posh and tech. It's brimming with unique touches and features that help set it apart. The highway ride is creamy, the cabin is generously trimmed and nicely built. And in all, I would tell you this is a machine with many strengths, as well as a potentially serious weakness that shoppers should be aware of. More on that later. For this latest Lincoln Corsair test drive, the Grand Touring Plug-in Hybrid, or PHEV, was the unit of choice. The plug-in hybrid is a special type of hybrid that can do wonders for your fuel bill. Most hybrids don't have a plug. The Corsair GT is one of the rarer hybrid SUVs that does. So on the rear of the vehicle is a flap for the fuel filler, and up front, a second flap conceals the electric charger connection. That's 2 energy sources used to propel this ride, a battery full of electricity and a tank full of good old-fashioned liquid dinosaur. So maybe you're relatively unfamiliar with this technology, and maybe you're wondering things like, what happens when the battery runs down? When does it charge? When do I need to plug it in? Well, the important thing to remember is that in a hybrid like this, as long as there's gas in the tank, you're good to go. There's no situation where charging is mandatory. There's no situation where you'll be driving along and suddenly need to stop what you're doing and connect to a charger. In fact, you could drive this thing for 27 weeks and never connect it to a charger if you wanted to. And here's how that all works. So this is the travel charger that is included with the car, and it has a standard household plug there. So we just plug it in here, light comes on. This is the same outlet I use for my weed whacker. Take the other end here, you can see the connector. Open this up. These little blue lighting segments here correspond to the charge state of the battery, which means that right now we're fairly low. We're recharging that next segment. If you want details, you can just look inside. And we can see that on level 1, we started there at 26%. We'll be at 100% at 3:57 a.m., which is something like 9 hours from now. What's much faster than that is to unplug from the travel charger, and if you've got one, to use a level 2 charger like this. So this stays on the house. Unplug it there. Grab ourselves some cable. This is pushing a lot more power into the battery. Same thing, plug it in. And now you can see from that same 26%, on level 1, it was going to have us fully charged at just before 4 in the morning. On level 2, it'll be ready just by 11. That's a little over 2 hours from right now. So level 1 travel charger at room temperature using this setup here, you're looking at about 11 hours to charge from empty to full for that 50 kilometers. If you have access to a level 2 charger, either where you shop, where you work, or even at home like I do here, that 11 hours becomes something like a little under 3. So level 2 might be overkill for some shoppers, but it does make it pretty much a no-brainer to ensure that you've always got a fully charged battery with that 50 kilometers of range whenever you want to go for a drive. Under the hood is a 2.5-liter four-cylinder gasoline hybrid engine, teamed up with a pair of integrated electric motors, one at each axle, that run on electricity stored in the hybrid battery. A portion of that battery's capacity is automatically recharged as you drive around. This is the gas-electric driving typical of conventional plugless hybrids. The battery used in the plug-in hybrid model stores a lot more energy than the battery used in the standard hybrid, so much in fact that you've got to connect it to an external charger to charge it up fully. So when the Corsair GT's hybrid battery is full, it holds enough energy to drive about 50 kilometers without using any gas. It's like having an electric vehicle for shorter trips that seamlessly switches to gas-electric hybrid drive for longer ones. I saw up to 56 kilometers of driving per charge in some situations, and note that colder temperatures will reduce the range and slow down the charging time. So we're fully charged up here right now. We're going to do a little time lapse with this camera. That's why that's in the way. But to start this off, let me show you here. What that's showing us is 532 kilometers worth of gasoline in the gas tank and 52 kilometers worth of electricity in the battery that we now have access to. So while you never have to plug this machine in, doing so means that your shorter drives virtually stop using any gas, meaning you might just wind up filling your tank a few times a year instead of a few times a month. With nightly charging at home on my watch, I handled a week's worth of errands in my tester before the fuel pump ever turned on. When the 50 kilometers of electric range runs out, automatic gasoline backup comes online seamlessly and gas-electric hybrid driving continues. This process is totally invisible in automatic. You'll hear a faint grumble as the gas engine spins up, and that's about it. The gas engine does turn itself on occasionally during electric driving, presumably for battery temperature control, fluid circulation purposes, and so on. It's also ready to kick in at a moment's notice at higher speeds when additional pickup is required. The nice thing about electric motors is that they gush quiet, smooth torque, and the Corsair has two of them. So when you're driving in pure EV mode, you just hear a slight electric whirring noise, and the machine is responsive and smooth. When used in conjunction with the gasoline engine, the electric motor torque can smooth out and fatten up the power curve, bumping output and throttle response with no additional noise. So the hybrid motors boost the engine like a turbo system, but with much faster response and while saving fuel as opposed to burning more of it. The electric boosted throttle response in the Corsair's Excite drive mode, the sporty one, provided a steady supply of grins. It's a quiet and smooth glide up to speed on electric-only power, supplemented by a smooth and muted growl from the four-cylinder engine when some heavy-footed driving gets it revved up. Here, there's a pleasingly potent punch of electric torque, blended smoothly with combustion power that glide the Corsair up to speed swiftly. It's a highly responsive glide from the get-go that non-electrified gas engines of this size just can't match. So a smooth and quiet engine that goes nicely with a smooth and quiet drive, most of the time. On smooth roads and especially highways, you'll see some of the Corsair's best work. It's soft and comfortable over most highway and secondary roads. The ride seems smooth, dense, durable, and solid. It's not too much of one or the other, but strikes a nice balance between relaxed and responsive. So we have this dial here that we rotate left and right, and when we do that, we watch up here on the display screen for the drive mode that we're selecting. So as I'm rotating this, I'll go all the way to one side here and outline these modes for you. So pure EV, that makes it easy to drive the Corsair using only electric power and not using any gas. We switch that over to Preserve EV. That allows us to have a full 50 kilometer charge, which we don't right now. That's referenced here. We have 14. But if we had a 50 kilometer charge, or if we wanted to save that 14 kilometers of charge for later, then we would put it in Preserve EV mode, which tells the car that you want to use that stored range for later on. Over here, we've got the Excite mode. This is like sport mode. It uses the electric motors to boost the engine, giving you full power, really awesome throttle response, really smooth glide up to speed. Quite a fan of that Excite drive mode. Next up, Conserve. That makes it easy for us to drive in the most energy efficient manner possible in that mode. And over here, we've got Normal. This is kind of an automatic one-size-fits-all setting. One more flick over here and we're into slippery mode. We can use that on cold and icy days. This is for deep conditions, maybe a little bit of light off-roading, a muddy trail, and so on. And so with that, just a few millimeters of fingertip movement is all that you need to control just about everything to do with the Corsair's driveline, but also when and how it uses that stored electric charge. The Corsair doesn't beg for fast cornering, but it's not opposed to it either. Most will find it feels very chilled out and easy to drive. But the rough and crumbling backroads surrounding Sudbury, Ontario coaxed out my tester's biggest weakness yet again on this test drive. After my initial visit to the Corsair a few years back, I noted that certain bumps and craters in a crumbling backroad setting prompted a notable hit to ride comfort, often stirring more noise and feedback from the suspension than I expect for the money. The complaint remains, and I left my decked-out $70,000 tester wishing for better isolation from the smashed-up Sudbury roads beneath. Specifically, washboard or pothole-covered roads, camp roads, or roads with failed pavement repairs make for a ride that can feel coarse and brittle, with generous audible feedback from the suspension. These are worst-case scenario settings, but other luxury crossovers, and even some mainstream ones, feel better suited to these specific surfaces. So while highway touring ride comfort is very satisfying, shoppers making this sort of spend have better options for ride comfort on busted-up backroads if that's a priority. And so a couple of gripes also apparent from here in the driver's seat. I can show you number one, this piano gloss surface. We're back here again. This stuff looks great, but again, to keep this clean and scratch free, you're gonna wanna have a Swiffer or something and just lightly clean this off. The other thing is the instrument cluster. You can see it's not particularly exciting to look at, and it's minimal, and I get that that's probably the way it was supposed to be designed. Maybe that's what the shopper wants. It's just not particularly exciting. It works well, the information's all there, it's easy to read, it's logical. I just wish there was a little bit more color and a little bit more flair. These are minor gripes in the big scheme of the Corsair Grand Touring's cabin, a welcoming, calming place to take in the scenery while you're surrounded by richly detailed surfaces, upscale touches everywhere you look, and generous use of metal, leather, and stitching to convey a high-end depth and character. I think my favorite thing about this interior is the neat and tidy look. Most button clutter is positioned low on the dash around a single interface. That means almost everything is in one spot, and the driver's outward sightlines are less cluttered. It also means that more of the cabin's visual scenery flaunts luxurious materials, not buttons and consoles and interfaces and screens. And this is a feature I think you're really going to appreciate right down here over on the door. So massaging seats, we've got the memory positions here, 1, 2, and 3. This button here calls up a menu on our screen over there. Allows us to fine-tune in very small increments each individual part of the seat here if we want. You can hear the air pump going when I press this. Hear that? It's just slightly increasing or decreasing the amount of air in each of these segments. And these are the perfect position seats to give us the most comfortable seating position. But what you really want to do is get up here into the massage menu, and then you want to pick the circular cushion massage. It is fantastic. All right, so here's me at 5'10" and 200 pounds, my comfortable seated driving position. You probably just saw there, nice easy shift sideways into my seat, no climbing up, no plopping down, easy to board and exit. Down here, it keeps all this complicated sort of button clutter down and out of my way. I like how it's angled so that I can rest my hand here, easily feel around for the switch I want without taking my eyes off the road, and helps keep the visual scenery in front of me nice and clear. Further back, the low cargo load-in height is easy to appreciate, especially for family canines jumping in and out. So give this machine some attention if you like the idea of a creamy highway ride, a richly trimmed cabin full of unique details, and a fuel-sipping engine that's big on quiet power. On the other hand, you do have better choices for comfortable rough road travels and exciting displays and graphics. Still, even the Corsair's most complicated features are very easy to use, and the cabin serves nicely as a rich and calming social lounge or personal sanctuary, full of features that contribute to a low-stress drive even over long distances. After multiple 6-hour road trips in this machine, I can tell you it's easy to get comfortable and settled in quickly, ahead of a relaxing highway drive. If you'll mostly be driving on smooth roads, the Corsair Grand Touring should prove a very solid pick in a comfort-first package, where the calmness, not the goodies, takes center stage in the experience. I'm Justin Pritchard. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below so you never miss a new upload. And until next time, take care and drive safe.